there's no baby mode. So.
Yeah, no,
They
I'm
want
well
you to
aware.
die.
I was saying to someone, I was like, as a dad, I'm like, a game without pause is just, I don't know how I could ever play it. Like man,
At what point
there's a lot.
do you go pee pee? Because game don't stop. Do you
Hey,
literally hide in the game behind a bush?
I made it through Batman without having to pee, and that's
Yeah, me
like
too.
my big accomplishment so far this
2
year.
hours and like 58 minutes, right? It's just
Yeah, man, to not pee at 42 years old, that is tough. That is very tough.
the blatter. She's small.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Well, we are live, and I will get right into it. I'll just do the quick little.
Everybody heard my pee joke.
Yeah. You're fine. Yep. And Court, I'll flip it to you if you want to do the intro for the gentleman, if you like.
No, I got to do the tweet thing. You're the hostess with the mostest.
All right.
These are facts.
Attic from Iron Lords Podcast, and we've got David from Level 1 Gaming. Pew pew, bang bang, zoom zoom. All right, here we go. And I'll hit record. We got this thing. Everyone say some words into your microphone. I can check.
Some words. What's going on, man?
That sounded like words. Court, you're going to be a...
Yeah, you already heard me.
Dill hole. Court. Dill
hole. Don't be mean, dude.
Not mean. Just sharing facts. Yeah.
Man, well, fair enough.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Today on the show, we got some awesome guests, and we're going to talk about 2 relatively big topics, I think. We're going to talk about the review process. What works, what qualifies a review, and how do we trust a review, the entire process involved for all of us. And we're going to talk about gatekeeping when it comes to games. Something about this big game that came out, apparently, boys. It's Elden Ring. So we're going to get into all of that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Xbox A. I am one of your hosts, Matt. Joining me as always, the Dark Knight of Xbox himself, Mr. Court. Hi.
Hey.
Hey,
I guess it's almost like the vengeance of Xbox, but
he was really just all about vengeance, wasn't he?
He was. Let's just keep saying was. I don't want to give away anything. Spoiler free.
That man's a nice movie. And joining us, we have 2 awesome gentlemen giving up their time to talk some reviews, to talk about gatekeeping. First off, just based off of where I'm looking on my screen, I got David from Level 1 Gaming. David, how are you, my friend? Thank you so much for coming.
Hey, it's no problem at all, man. I appreciate the invite. Anytime I'm invited anywhere, like I always like, me? You want me? You want me, baby? Of course I'm gonna come talk. So I was super excited. I responded back in the instant. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you, Matt and Court, man. It's the first time we're hanging out on the podcast together, man. And Attic, we got mad history. So it's gonna be a good show, man. I really look forward to hanging out with you brothers tonight.
Nice. And joining us is that man from the Iron Lords Podcast, Attic. Sir, good to see you again. It's been a while. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it has been a while. It's been a long week. It's been a long month, man. Like I feel like there's no breathing room with these games. Like February might as well have been a spirit bomb from Dragon Ball Z hitting me right up the face. Like it feels like the moment a game's done, I feel like I can breathe. Bam, another game drops. Like,
well, yeah, like I saw everybody popping out the Ghostwire Tokyo, right? That's like already. That's the new thing. Like all the influencers are like, "Look, I'm playing this game." And I'm just like, "How? I am still playing Horizon."
Yeah, Horizon's still a game for me.
It's still a thing that I haven't finished yet. Like this is so hard.
I still haven't beat Elden Ring, and I've put probably 80, 90 hours in it. So
like what? Two achievements? I heard it's like you can play for like 100 hours.
4. I think I got like 4.
There you go.
See, this is where having a team comes in handy, because as soon as we got our Ghostwire code, it was like, yeah, Chakalaka, this is yours, baby, because I'm not doing this. Like, there's no time to really play all of these games back to back like this. So I'm just fortunate to have a team where I could just say, yeah, I'm not doing this, and I hand it to somebody else, so I can keep playing stuff like Skull, which no one's playing right now, but it's in my backlog, and I can focus on that and play other games down the road.
So my question to both of you, because you're more of like my very first game ever reviewing was Halo Infinite this year, and even that for me was with the time frame that we all got, I was just like, this is a bit much. Where do you guys find the time, and how do you manage it all? Because if you look at right now what the pandemic is, what it's caused these games to drop back to back to back to back to back. Like we literally had Horizon, Elden Ring, Gran Turismo, and now Ghostwire Tokyo in less than 3 weeks. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Just
definitely. Oh yeah, no, go ahead, add it.
it's pretty much like you got to determine. I mean, I guess as content creators, there's a couple things you have to take into consideration. What would be more beneficial to your content? What would be more beneficial to your brand? What has a bigger reach? What can you get a hold of earlier rather than on launch?
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of factors into it. And when it comes to like just the consumer side, it's like, what do you have time to play? Like, do you have time to jump in something like Horizon that's probably a shorter game than something like Elden Ring? Or do you have time to just dedicate the next 2 months of your life to Elden Ring and just completely ignore everything else?
A lot of it, I think, too, is because you see a lot of people doing reviews, and one thing people don't know is people like myself or on the smaller side, we don't typically get stuff as far in advance as the IGN and GameSpots of the world. So they have so much more time typically.
Which
That
makes no sense to me.
makes no sense. Yeah, they'll like I was shocked when we got our Ghostwire code that we got it so early. And I think it's part of that due to our relationship with Bethesda, but we got it really early. So and again with the team at level 1, I'm actually working on a review, but it's not that. I'm working on a different game. I'm able to pass that off, so that helps us out a lot at level 1. So we're able to, hug her, which we talked about earlier. She's the head of our reviews. We're able to pass these things around. But me personally, I refuse to try to review as many games back to back to back because you still gotta you can't. I'm not saying you can't enjoy the game when you're reviewing it, but some of the joy, right, goes away when you're reviewing the game because at that point it's not playing for fun, it's playing for work. So some of the joy goes away. I just refuse to be one of the people to where like time for my next review because you'll never have time to just be yourself.
Do you guys feel like that is one of the biggest things that I always come back to, just looking at creators like you guys and what you're doing at level 1 and at Iron Lords, and then you look at the GameStops, the GameSpots, the IGNs, and all of that, and I'm always looking back and going, how much if they're critical, or you feel like maybe the creator or whatever, or the outlet is being maybe too critical of a game, depends. But I always take back and look at, are they being really critical because it was in such a short window? Like they had 3 days to play this 50-hour game and they banged this thing out and stuff gets lost.
Well, when it comes to like the review process, if you're 2 to 3 days, there's something fishy about that.
Yeah.
Like to me, if a game goes gold, why isn't reviewers giving that game around that time? Like it's because they're having the developers crunch to the last minute to drop the game, and it's just like, look, like the whole process could be fixed if you just give people more time to do something. Like if you give people more time after it's gone gold to fix the bugs, you can get these games in the hands of reviewers with the day 1 patch, not 5 days of reviewing it then the day 1 patch. It's
what's crazy, Attic, have you gotten a situation where you got a code and in the email, like they'll tell you about a situation with the game? You're like, wait a minute, why isn't this fixed before I get the game? Of course I'm gonna ding you for that. Have you ran into that? Like them telling you about
all
the issue
time,
before you
all the time.
never
Almost every
understood.
embargo. I've literally had embargoes that, like, I don't mind story related embargoes. Okay, I can't talk about this, I can't talk about that. But if you start restricting me from talking about mechanics, then I'm just like, that's fishy. Like, what is it? Because the mechanic don't work the way you think it does? Do you not feel confident about that? And and then there's the famous, we're gonna have you review something, and then 2 weeks later we're gonna drop microtransactions. That's becoming more and more aggressive that all these developers are starting to do. And it's just like, the industry got to do better, like in general. Like reviewers got to be better with being transparent that they're not beating games. But developers and publishers got to do better in showing that they're not giving some of these reviewers enough time with certain of these games. And publishers just need to do better on giving developers enough time to make these games. Like,
it's a vicious cycle too, right? Go ahead, Court.
Yeah, and like you brought up a very good point with the day 1 patch, because an example is Elden Ring. Like my brother who bought Elden Ring on day 1 on PC, the game didn't work, but yet the reviewers were able to play this game, and then when the day 1 patch came out, somehow the game no longer worked. Or even Halo Infinite, like we got to review it when that game finally launched, and there was a lot of changes. They were for the better, but should they have these patches should no longer be a day one patch? Should the reviewers have the full game to actually review so you could actually give a correct review? Because people are going out and buying these games and it turns out to be a different game than what we talk about.
I actually got a good example for you real quick, Fame.
Perfect.
The worst game I've ever seen be broken after the game launches was Gears 5. That game run flawlessly the entire time I was reviewing it. And then the moment that game, because I didn't beat it at the time, but the moment that game launched, it just broke completely and no one had access to it. I couldn't even finish the last act because it was so bad. Well, obviously I finished it, but I couldn't finish it when it launched.
I think what us and in our Dying Light 2 review, which Baron handled that for us, there were issues with the game to where the audio would break in key moments of like a powerful scene that's happening. You need to know what's happening.
You hear the powerful screech.
Yeah, no audio. And it's like that you have an update prepared for this. Why is this update out for the reviewer? Then you can't knock them because they have to put that in the review because it was part of their experience. So I do think there's blame to go all the way around for a lot of people. I do know there's a big thing right now on people completing games. And I think I'm in the minority when I say a game like Elden Ring. I'm sorry, if you got 95% of Elden Ring done and you got countless of hours in it, your full-blown review does not bother me. I don't care if you didn't read credits. You've played enough for the game to do the review, in my opinion. I know a lot of people have the opposite opinion of that, but that's one of those games to where if I'm going to give a true review of a game like Elden Ring, as big and as massive as it is, I don't need the reviewer to see credits. I need you to... Oh, go ahead.
No, you finish with your statement.
No, I'm saying I just believe that when someone, if a game like Elden Ring and they put in hundreds of hours and they 95% because they went and did everything to try to get as big of a scope of the game as they can. If you were another 3 hours, 2 hours from a game like Elden Ring now, granted, that's for a game like Elden Ring. If the game is like 6-7 hours long, maybe 15 hours long, you got no excuse.
Finish that.
You have no excuse. Finish that, right? But a game like Elden Ring, I'm not bothered.
Is that what you were thinking? Is that it depends, or do you think differently about it?
I feel like any game should be beat. But here's the issue, because there's a lot of games that the ending completely ruins it. Like, I've had games where the last boss has a bug I can't finish. I literally can't get past the game. I think that when it comes to it, reviewers got to do a better job, because I had the issue with Dying Light. I was coming up on that date, and people don't realize how important that date is and how much more devastating it could be from just 24 hours between the release of the embargo and the actual, when you get the review out, where I was coming towards when you towards the end of the game, you feel it, that you about to do this last mission. And like, sometimes as reviewers, it's like, look, like, okay, I've done plenty in the game. Let me go ahead and finish it. Then I go back and do all the extra stuff that I want to do. And that's what I had to do in Dying Light. I was enjoying it, but like, let me get this last mission done real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I went to review the game, and there's been plenty of games like Shadow of Mordor. I wasn't reviewing games back then, but Shadow of War was an amazing game. But then you had the last act be this crazy grind fest that took some people 30 to 40 hours just to do that one little act. And if you would have went to that last part, because that's after the cutscene, because it pretty much goes like that last little part, you have to do that. Then there's the final battle. So if you would have played all the way up to that last part before Shadow of War, it was so bad, guys, that they had to patch it out. They patched the whole act out. And if you would have got to that part, and that's I would say a good amount through the game, probably 80, 90% through the game. Because sure, that grind is a lot, but it's not because there's a lot of content there. It's because the amount of levels that those last acts have is insane. Well, so you would have to grind your level.
I didn't play that game because of reviews and people saying of all that. Like, I've still never to this day played that game because of what everybody said.
And to be honest, it's okay to do it every now and then. I feel like, but you just be transparent. Look, Matty Plays, friend, he put on his YouTube video, he's like, this is my review on 80, 60, how many hours he said of the game. That's being transparent. I didn't beat the
Yeah.
game, but I played 80 hours of the game. So I could give an opinion on this game.
Mhm.
But I feel like a lot of reviewers, they know that that's not clickable. That's not something that's going to get them a lot of views. So they're like, we reviewed this game. We beat it from beginning to end. Like, and I feel like that is when we come to the point where it's like, okay, maybe that is the issue than everything else. Just be transparent, man. If you played 10 minutes of the game, you think it was, because people will sit there and they say, well, you can't review it if you only played 30 minutes and you stop playing it. Yeah, you can. You review why you dropped that game in 30 minutes. Like,
that's a good
Review in
point.
progress.
Yeah, and I really like that point though of like being upfront and letting the viewers know, letting the readers know, whatever, of this is how long I played the game. So here's my review of this amount. If it's 30 minutes, if it's 4 hours out of 10, if it's 10 hours out of 20, whatever. And to David's point too, it's like I played 95 hours of Elden Ring. I couldn't 100% the thing, or I couldn't beat the whole thing. I'm still a few hours away, but here is my review up until then. And I think that gives a better balance. And then, like you said, it's better transparency with your listeners, your viewers, because then they're not feeling like they're cheated or like I'm listening or watching these reviews, and then halfway through the conversation, the podcast, you learn they all say, I played like 7 hours. Like it's a 50-hour game. And they're like, I played 7 hours. Oh, I played 10 hours. I'm 2 hours in. And one person is maybe 40 hours. And you're going, well, wait a minute. They all give in their opinions on this is what's crap. This works. This is glitched. And you're like, well, are we really giving it a fair shake?
Well, that's like with our Cyberpunk. We didn't say review. We said impressions.
Yeah.
We played the patch 1.5. I just couldn't get into the game. I was like in a gaming funk, and I was just like, I can't. Played 15 hours, and like I told Matt, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not playing any more of this game. I want to play something else. This is just not catching me right now. So we didn't do a review. And yeah, you throw out that content. We still did the content, but you don't get the views. If we put the word review, we'd be lying. So we couldn't do that. It was just an impression.
I did because I'm the dork wrestling fan here, but WWE 2K22 was out today, and I was able to get my hands on it yesterday, and nobody's like gotten review copies or anything on time. Like they came out like yesterday.
That's never a good thing.
No, it's never a good thing. So at least in my experience, but anyways, I put up this morning my impressions because I played, I think, almost 20 hours because I just went hard in it. And I at least I put in like a 10-minute impressions. And at the beginning, I'm like, these are my impressions of the game thus far, and here's what I'm going to talk about based off of what I've been able to play and get my hands on. And I even mentioned stuff that I'm like, I haven't been able to get into this mode that much, so I'm not even really going to touch it. So, and then here's what I'm focusing on. So at least in my head, I'm like, I'm not going out there saying, this is the review, this is the definitive thing, because I'm also sitting in the chair going, I'm probably going to revisit this in 3 months and do an updated 3 months review, 6 months, 1 year, because sports games or anything like that where there's going to be patches and content drops, I'm like, it's going to change even slightly. And then I'm going to say, how's the game today? Oh, it's better. It's not a glitchy mess.
Part of the issue that happens that everyone's in a race. Who can get it up? And there's an embargo time, right? So everyone wants to hit that embargo time, so they're willing to do anything for the SEO click, which includes, maybe not being as truthful as honest with your review. And I think that's part of the problem. We're all racing because we probably got the game 2 weeks ago. Some of us maybe got it a month ago. Some of us got it yesterday, and everyone's so focused on I need the clicks. I need the clicks more so than I want to give an honest review, an honest representation. Because if you want to build a solid relationship with these companies, these developers, do a proper review. We've done plenty of reviews, and then after the fact, we've had developers send emails, we've conversed back and forth, and we've built really good relationships with these people because we gave an honest review. And I think, again, part of the problem is everyone's in such a race to get the click first, and that's running a lot of people into issues and not being honest.
You'd be surprised on who watches. Like, obviously, we do video content on IOP. Well, we have a website, but I do the stuff on the channel. And I did a review on Forza Horizon and had someone reach out to me about it. Because I put in the video, this isn't a review like I'm a racing fan. This is a review on someone that doesn't play racing games whatsoever. And apparently the person laughed because when I was going over the cars, probably the single-handedly most important thing about the game, I said, I don't know none of these cars are at all whatsoever. I was like, I think that's a Porsche. I think and they thought it was funny. It's just like, look, and I think people need to stop like thinking that like, oh, I only can do reviews. Like, there's plenty of content you can make on a game. You can make tips on a game. Elden Ring, that I could tell you 10 articles right now you can write on to Elden Rings. Best bosses to fight, the easiest bosses to fight, the best places to fight the bosses for farming, best equipment you can get, the best route you can take.
Yep. And that's interesting too, Anna, and I do remember your Forza, by the way, because I watched the other day. I was like, that's awesome. Because I remember watching it when you're like, yeah, I don't play these games. So, but here we go. But I really like that approach too of, I'm not going to give a review or even speaking to a developer like, can we get a copy for review purposes? But what I want to put up on the channel is top 5 this, tips on how to grind this, find this gear and all of this. It's a
which car to buy.
And you could still do the review. It's just if you can't get that review done quick enough, it's all right. Let me tackle these things I could do fast.
And you can hammer those out faster. And like David's saying, like you get that nice algorithm in your favor.
And then what you do is you hyperlink those videos to your review. Yep. So
there's a lot of options. What do you, Court, any other kind of final thoughts as we round up a little bit of the first point here, just talking about reviews in general?
Is there, I guess there is no way, because we've talked about this, because we've seen the embargoes, and I even saw Greg Miller put up a tweet. I don't know what game he was reviewing just recently, and he was like, this is the worst embargo I've ever seen of a game.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah, I have no clue. So like, he just read it, and he was just like, I don't even want to review this game. Is pretty much what he put out. He's not going to review the game because he didn't even like the embargo. Is there a way to possibly almost put like guidelines? Like I talked about this with friend of the show, Marcus, about accessibility, how if they could get guidelines of accessibility, that could be in every game. So then it's not, people don't have to say, oh, this is that. There's just have these certain things in the game so everybody can play. Regardless, you could turn them off, turn them on. But if there was a way to have, do you think it would ever work if they said, the developer said, well, here's the guidelines for reviews and everybody followed the same ones? Do you think it could ever work?
Only if. Yeah, my bad, bro.
No. I think the only way you could do that is the big sites have to all come together and say, this is the standards. We're not doing it unless you abide to these standards. If IGN does it, but GameStop doesn't, then it's kind of pointless. Like if half the sites are in, half the sites are out, it's not going to go nowhere.
And he hit the nail on the head. Like it comes from the top, and in our industry, it's the IGNs, the GameSpots of the world, and it's kind of like when we remember when everyone was like pitted against like crossplay. Remember, some people wanted crossplay, some people didn't, and then Call of Duty was like, "Yeah, we're doing crossplay." Then all of a sudden, yeah, we're cool, we're gonna do crossplay. Like, it starts at the top, so unless people at the top are doing it, it'll never happen. And you have to find a way to either give everyone the game key at the same time. If you approve someone for a key, everyone has to get the key at the same time, because you give people the same amount of time to do the same exact thing, because we're all different.
Yeah, it seemed I saw that with Gran Turismo. People were getting it like the day before, but other people got it a couple days earlier.
That's the biggest thing about reviews that I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why people get review codes weeks before other people get review codes. Like, I get it. Some people are bigger. Some people have relationships. But it's like, that to me, I don't know if that's cherry picking or that's trying to rig the reviews. Okay, we don't like you, and we know you're going to be harder on our game, so we're going to give you 2 days. So you'll review the game and not beat it. We know you going to do good. We're going to give you 2 weeks. Like,
no, he hit the nail on the head. I mean, we just recently saw the thing with it's a Stevier or Stever not getting a certain review code on because they possibly have been giving a harsher score than other people. So this definitely could be part of it. I just think, again, the review process is broken, in my opinion. If someone's approved for a key, especially if you have previous relationships with them, and you know you're going to give them a review key, why not give it all around the same time? I get it. If there's 1 or 2 people sending out emails, it might take a day or 2, but it shouldn't to be where person A got it 2 weeks ago and then you give it to me in 2 days. Because of course I'm going to accept the key, but I'm like, I can't get this out you know, and I talked about earlier about the rat race. I'm gonna sound a little bit contradictory here, but if you put out a review for a certain game weeks after it releases, no one cares. Everyone has a score for it already. Everyone's read plenty of reviews. Everyone watched plenty of review videos. No one cares. So you kind of just played that game more for fun than you did for, you know, trying to get the views and the clicks for your site.
Even hours after embargoes. We learned that with Halo Infinite. We put out a couple hours. Sorry.
My rule of thumb, is you got 2 days. Like that's the 2 days. The second day is iffy, but you got 2 days before that review's viewership tanks.
Yeah.
Do you find that that's across the board? Because both of you guys have the sites as well. Do you find that's whether it's written or it's video format? Does it matter?
No, it matters.
Like I'm saying, is there a difference between them, or do they both just nosedive after like the first couple of days?
You go, fam. I'm tired of talking over you on accident.
No. I've noticed it tanks on both. I think especially when it comes to written content on the website, you really better get that thing up, and you better get it on social media. I think on the more of a content creator side, YouTube side, most people are going to flock to their favorite.
Yeah.
Like if Addict is my favorite reviewer, I'm going to Addict's review, right? First, to see if he has it up. When it comes to you know, websites, unless you're like you know, someone who makes a lot of noise on Metacritic and people want to see like, oh my God, you gave this game a 40 and everyone else gave it a 90. Why? Then they'll go read it, you know. But for the most part, people don't want to read. People don't like written content is I'm not saying it's dying, but most people do not like to read. They want to sit, watch, and listen, right? That's how they consume media now. People don't really consume it as much written as before, right? So you better be up early. Otherwise, people are not going to. Why would I go and read your article? And I've read 3 other. I read IGN's, I read GameSpot, and I read, I don't know, Kotaku's or whatever. Why am I going to go read yours, right? And the game came out 2 days ago.
It's funny. I read so much because I help produce the content for us. So I'm like, I read so much content. I watched Addict play Fable once for like an hour and a bit just because it was just. I love that game, but like I consume so much content, which is whether it's, and it might just be my age, right? I still love the written review over the video review, and I do primarily on YouTube. It's
You're
kind
the last of a dying breed.
I know.
I don't read.
I'm old.
I go straight to YouTube, man. I don't read. No, I don't do that stuff. I'm the definition to go to the bottom and see the score. I'm the definition. if you don't have a video review, I ain't seeing your content, man. It's just be real here, man. Nah, man, because I'm always on the go. So I like something I can listen to while I'm driving, something I can listen to while I'm working. Like, unless I'm reading for a video, like Jeff Grubb be leaking something every week and I have to read something he said every week. Like, unless it's something like that, you ain't getting me to read nothing. Like,
and that's how most people are, in my opinion. It's difficult to break in on a smaller side of websites because of that. And as if anyone who thinks opposite of what, you know, Addict just said, you as well are last of a dying breed, because most people do not consume content that way anymore, especially the younger audiences. And there's no way I could get my 13-year-old to read a review.
Read this
that I did.
one pager.
No, he's like, is it up on your channel? I'll watch it, but he's not going to sit down and read it. They're not going to do it, right? And I think that's just part of this generation and the generation behind us, is that this is how we consume media now. Which is why what we do at level 1 is it's a thing to where the video review and the written review go up at the exact same time. And then we typically, sometimes we'll link the video review in the article. They have to go up at the same time because video content creation is so important. Because again, unless if the world flips and the older generation takes charge of the gaming space, you better believe the written content finna pop. Everybody's articles finna get read. But that's not the world we live in anymore.
Newspapers are at the door again.
And the pandemic kind of pushed it up quicker when you think about it, because I myself used to listen to my podcast in my car, but here all the way up in the Great White North of Canada, we just, like, restaurants, everything just like even opened up only a month ago. Like, we've been trapped in our houses still. So I even podcast. I watch watch podcasts instead of like Iron Lords. I started watching it during the pandemic instead of listening to it.
The only thing I'll actually read is like, let's say I'm playing like a huge RPG like Elden Ring. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of getting killed by this boss. What is the best katana in this whole damn game? And so I'll look up something like that. I don't want a video on that. I want something that's going to get straight to the point. This is where this katana is, and this is the location. Because if I listen to a video, I know some dude on the other side going to try to extend the video as long as he can.
Yeah.
And he going to be like, guess what, guys? This is the greatest thing you could do. And then he's going to tell me about all the things he done that day. Or I could just go to a website and they're going to tell me in 5 seconds.
Which a lot of websites that's one of the beauty and downfall of websites, because yes, you can, the YouTube video, he's probably going to fluff it to make it 7-8 minutes long, but the article is going to get you exactly where you need to go. But then you have a bounce rate of 98%, and to a website, you know, in the gaming space, typically a bounce rate is around 90%. If you're hovering around that for a video game website, you're okay. But once it gets up there to like 98, 99% bounce rate, like, wait a minute, people are coming to our site and they're on our site for like 2 seconds and they leave. So it's like you have to find a happy medium, because that's great. You know, people come to the site, but then they just up and leave because they got their content, which is why people on YouTube fluff you for 10 minutes before they give you what you actually came for.
That's where it gets tricky too, right? Because you can watch stuff like that, or you see similar content to what you're producing, want to produce, even on a topic, and you look at somebody and you got some fluffy kid, and Fluffy's got 30,000 views on something, 40,000 views on it, and you're like, what the hell's going on? How is this one doing so well? It's actually kind of deceiving, because it's not really true necessarily, because what you just said, Fluffy's in there talking about making eggs and going off and ranting for 3 minutes, and then there's like a minute and a half of the content, so everyone's scrubbing and going, there it is, so great, but we can't see his analytics where Fluffy's like, yeah, they bounced after 8 seconds.
Yeah, like we've learned something about YouTube. You can have 60,000 views on a video, but if your average view time is a minute and something, it don't matter how many views you got on that video.
It's bad content.
Yeah, like we did we were happy when we just had a video just recently, had the average view was like 7 minutes on it. We were like, that's fantastic. Didn't have like a 1,000 views, but the average person actually,
they click and they stay and they watch
the verbal diarrhea that was coming out of my mouth or Matt's mouth.
Usually
mostly me. My
retention rate's about 40 to 60% of the video. Yeah, that's usually where I hover around.
Yeah, and I think if everyone's doing well when you are like in that range, and you know when something's just not clicking and it's literally just thumbnail or title or whatever, right? You're just trying to break through that. Now, as you break through all of that, got through the reviews, talked about the review, boys, there is another ugly beast, the underbelly. And I'm very eager to discuss this because, oh boy, I think it'll get us all a little bit fired up, and I'll let you guys take the floor. Gatekeeping in video games. This is a big thing, and I think it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What's going on right now? And Cord, do you want to expand on it? Like how you want to go about this?
It's not just Elden Ring. It's a lot of games. It's like I see people who give an opinion and say the game is not for me. I've never played it, so I don't have an opinion on the game, but I see people verbally going after people on social media or saying they're not good at stuff or telling them they don't know what they're like. If people are getting, it's even more than fanboyism. Like fanboyism, like that whole thing with the doctor the other day, like that's just wow. I don't even know, man. I can't, but they almost go hand in hand. Like you have these people that are actually going out and review bombing games. You have people getting angry about a video game, and then it even gets more funny when you see the developer like chime in some points. You've seen it with games where the developer chimes in on social media, is like, what are you talking about? Like, don't stick up for me. Like, don't. If the guy doesn't like the game, who cares? What's your problem? Like, how do you guys feel about the anger that we've been seeing on social media of people trying to tell other people how to enjoy this thing that we all like to talk about?
I feel like we need to just start muting.
Me and Attic are playing chicken. It's like,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Attic.
I feel like we need to just start muting those individuals and moving on. We give them too much power in their words. People feel like they can say something and get 50, 60 likes and 10, 15 retweets. And you look at the other stuff and no one liking any of that stuff. They're going to want to be vocal with their whack opinion more often. So it's just like, look, like, I've always been the standpoint on play as long as it doesn't affect the developer's initial vision when he made that game. I don't even care if they make an easy mode in From Software games. Like, I don't care. Like, make the standard difficulty of the From Software games that we know now, and then if you want to make something under that for easy mode, it's not affecting mine. I ain't playing on that mode. If someone else wants to play, cool. For all you know, making that kind of mode could sell 3 times the more From Software games, and they make better From Software games because of it. And people be acting like we can't have both. Like for some reason that like stains the reputation of From Software games because more people beating them. Like, it makes no sense.
People will do and say anything for clout. Clout is a hell of a drug.
It is.
It's a hell of a drug. So it's a hell of a drug. So people will, and I'm gonna take this Elden Ring topic or Souls games topic. Oh, look, I beat this game and you didn't, so I'm superior. Look, I beat every From Soft game. I beat every hard game. Look, I beat your favorite game on the hardest difficulty, so therefore I am better than you, and the world should love me. Because it's clout. Everyone wants clout tokens so they can bank on later on because they want attention. And unfortunately, that's not changing no time soon because it seems to get more and more prevalent. It's not getting less, it's getting more. More people like, oh, all right, well, I'm gonna beat the game on the hardest difficulty now so I can feel superior as well. And we're gonna come together and rub our feet together because we are one happy. You know, you get what I'm saying? Like they all come in the same circles and they want to feel superior than others, which again, I am all for playing the game the way the developer wanted it to, right? It does not. I'll say it right here in this show, and I've said it before. I have no shame. 99% of games I play on normal.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
No shame.
Because the majority of these games that are on hard and stuff, all it is just buffing up the HP and making them gods. That's all it does. Like it just I believe in like difficulties that change the experience, not just give them more health and make me more vulnerable. That's all that is. Like,
I play on story mode all day long, but
I won't go that far and say story mode.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, to each their own. Like I don't care. Like I at first I was like, people used to dunk on me, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't even care anymore. Like I joke. Like I grew up in Nintendo generation. I grew up in the NES. You know what? I played hard games. I played games where I find out when I got older that the game only took 4 hours to beat, but I'm like, I played that thing for a year and couldn't beat it. Like, because it's just back then games were just made to be hard. Like, I look at Disney games as an example and it makes me laugh. These games are supposed to be for kids. These punish you. These destroy you. These games are so hard. But I also, as I've gotten older, you know what? I'll be honest, I suck at video games now, but I still enjoy stories and I still enjoy being in the world. So I also don't have a lot of time to play them as much as I used to, but I think it's okay whatever way someone wants to play a game. Like, I don't get why people get so angry about this.
Court, to me, I'm gonna look at you and I'm gonna say, number one, play games how you want to play them. It's your experience, no one else's. Number one. Number two, thank you for spending money in the industry I love so much because we together are helping push the narrative forward to maybe get a sequel. And number three, we can actually talk about the game. It doesn't matter us talking about how it was easier for you or harder for me. That means nothing. Hey, did you remember this part? Holy crap. What do you think about this scene? What do you think about the design of that part? Those are the conversations I think that are important, not, oh man, you did it on what mode? Yeah, I died 47,000 times, but I'm just built different. Like,
that's just weird. You're totally right, because it doesn't create engagement. As soon as I feel like people will come out online or whatever in comments and just say, you're playing on easy mode, Court, you bad. I play on hard.
Baby mode.
I go real gamer, me big man. There's no dialogue. There is no engagement and desire for communication. It's stopped in its tracks. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? There's nothing there. David, you're right. Where it's like, well, we had the same experience in the game, relatively speaking. Did we go through the same story beats in Uncharted? Yes, we did. Did you play yours on harder? Yes, you did. Well, how is it? Well, it's really hard. Great. Well, I enjoyed this part. We talk about the big moments in the game, and then there's cool stuff. If you're grinding through and you find and you experience different things, that's great because that builds relationships and engagement and communication. But I was thinking as you guys were talking too, I'm like, I'm coining this as like the Pac-Man effect. Cord, it's like arcades. Because what's it all about? It's clout, as you were saying. It's being able to play Pac-Man at the arcade and get the highest score. That's all it's about. So you walk around, you're just like, I got the highest score. I got the highest score.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just continuing to modernize now. Huh?
Because you can all get the same score. Mind you, when I did my Halo review, I played on normal. And when I got to that boss that was inside the I can't even remember what it is. It was so freaking hard. I was so mad, and I couldn't change the diff. I was so angry. I'm like, why didn't I play this on easy? But I didn't want to hear anybody complain that I did review and didn't. So when I review a game, I'll play it on normal. When I'm playing for myself, 100%, I'm playing all day, every day on easy because I'm Lionel Richie. It's easy like Sunday morning. I just don't care.
There you go.
Not to just dive back into our last topic, but Addict, I want to ask you a question. What do you, as a fellow reviewer, what is your mindset on people actually reviewing games on easy rather than normal? Do you think it deters or takes away from the certain experience? Because to me, the only thing that is a difference is some games you beat them on hard, you get a different ending. That's about it. But what do you think? Because there are debates of people saying, "Oh, I can't review this review because you reviewed it on easy."
I don't really look down on that. Like, maybe if you use transparent that, look, I played it on easy, maybe that does change some of the gameplay mechanics a little bit, like not even drastically, but I want you to know that I did play the game on easy. Because at the end of the day, like, it's like I said, for the most part, I only think I've ever seen difficult games, like higher difficulties do, is just give them more health and me look more vulnerable. So I don't really see changing those environments too much is going to, if anything, going the higher is going to frustrate me more. So I don't really see going lower is going to like impact like my overall opinions of the game. Maybe sure, if you shouldn't really if you play it on easy mode, I don't expect you too much to go into like how easy the game is. Like, you shouldn't play it on easy, say, yo, this game was so easy, man. I did it blindfolded. Like, well, maybe you should stay away from that.
Fame, that reviewer that you were talking about that didn't get a code, that's supposedly why he didn't get a code. He reviewed Horizon and he played it on story mode and put in his review the game was easy.
Oh yeah, that's a red flag. That's a big. You can't knock my game. If I'm a game developer, that's my art, that's my baby. You can't. It's like, not to be funny here, like a blind man saying this picture is ugly. No, like that's not a fair review. Like, you can't do that. So I wouldn't give a review code either. If you beat my game on easy and then you knock it for saying it's too easy, or who gave was it Gears of War too much A button? That's silly. That's absolutely silly. And I
hate when people say something's too much like Gears is too much like Gears. It's just more Gears. And I'm like, that's literally why people bought Gears. Like, I understand my thing that we've seen with Elden Ring. I'm about to go on a rant. I apologize, guys. I apologize. My thing is, you look at something like Elden Ring, regardless how you feel about that franchise, you see From Software took that foundation, like, we don't care what no one says. We're keeping this foundation. We're just going to make this the most extravagant house we've ever had by building on this foundation. And throughout games after game, they made a 97 Metacritic. Regardless how you feel about Metacritic, it's still highly appraised and highly well reviewed in the industry. And they did that because they stuck to their guns. But you look at companies like Square Enix, they don't know what the hell they're doing with their games half the time. They change the formula so often, it's crazy. And it's just like, look, like, I get Gears needs to change in a way, but I feel like the way some of the individuals want Gears changed, it's not Gears anymore.
Yep.
And it's like, that's like developers, that's why I always give developers, a huge props when they stick to what made them them. It's like your fans, because to me, if you change your game drastically, you're spitting in the fans that you've nurtured throughout these years in their face. And that's how I feel as a Final Fantasy fan. I've been abused and mistreated for years. And we've gotten to the point where it's like Final Fantasy VII was like, okay, we could take this. Please don't change it. Do this, but make it better. Please don't change it, Square Enix.
Well, I guess not everybody can do a God of War, right? Like, they changed that game
I blame
And
God of War for a lot of things.
Yeah, and it ended up being for the better. Like that game's amazing. But
Well, it's not that. It's just I feel like what they did with God of War, everyone's like, we could do that too. We could do that too. No, you can't.
Well, isn't every game Breath of the Wild anyways? That's what reviews say.
Every game wants Call of Duty sells without the Call of Duty audience, and every game wants innovation like God of War without this talent that made God of War.
Which is almost impossible because God of War is now it's see, I'm always of the mind that people are always going to compare everything to everything, but I have a hard time with it because like everybody's like, oh, everything is Breath of the Wild. Well, technically you could just keep going back into whatever game was the first open world, and there's your that's what everything is. You know what I mean?
Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, there you go. But like it's just like I just saw the Batman on the weekend, and I saw people because obviously reviewing is just more fun to talk about. When the people were like, I saw the guy's review, and he was like, the movie was too dark and dreary. I'm like, what? Like what? That's like that. Come on, man! Like I just don't understand.
I want Schumacher. I want everything in neon.
No.
But
it's all to each their own, right? Like I agree with you guys on the as long as the reviewer is honest about it and says, here's how I played the game. Here's how much I played of the game. Here's what level I played of the game. And here's my critiques of the game. And if you like that reviewer, you can, we all have reviewers that we trust. We all have reviewers and people's opinions that we trust. If you don't trust it, that's fine. Like, look, I know Matt got a fantastic comment from someone today telling him he was a shill or whatever, even though Matt never even got a code for the game. So that was even funny. Because it's more of I almost think it's almost perception. Once again, there's gatekeeping on reviews. There's not just gatekeeping on how you play a game. There is these people out there that are gatekeeping reviewers telling you how to review the game and do your job. And it don't make sense.
And the crazy thing is, if you look at it, here's how I handle people that, okay, I don't trust your review. You like some dude put on Twitter, he's only beat 10% of the games he's reviewed. Like, I saw that, I looked at that comment. Nothing in me was like, I need to verbally attack this dude on Twitter. All I did was mute him. It's like, I don't want to see you on my timeline because you're not going to give me content I want. So you can do what you're doing over there, but you can stay. I'm in my room. You stay over there. Like, but that's as far as it needs to go. But these people act like they need to change his mindset, and he needs to review games the way they want him to review games.
Or they go into the comments and they're like, yeah, they'll dunk on you for reviewing the thing. Or they come in to say, I don't like the game. I don't like the franchise. And you're like, I've gone back myself and I've been like, I've said that to people. I'm like, then why are you wasting your own time? That's
starved for attention.
I get it. It's like, and hey, you got your little bit of attention. I guess that's what it boils down to. I'm just flabbergasted. I'm like, wow, you have time? You have time to sit and go find something you don't like to then talk to type keyboard and type words to some random and then I did it.
Have you ever got like those 5-6 paragraph stuff disagreeing with a video?
Here's everything you did wrong.
There like, you just sitting there. I'm like, dude, I wouldn't have put this much time in college. Like, like you were putting college paragraphs in my comment section. And guess what? I'm sorry, but I didn't read none of that.
Not reading it.
You get me for 3 sentences. Past 3, you are talking to the abyss.
Well, I always say to Matt, we respond with the same thing. Thank you for helping my algorithm.
Nah, I don't even give them that, man. Because if you say that,
they come back.
Then they feel like they got something, then they might show up next week. Yeah, I just let them sit there. What's funny is we've gotten starting to get big enough where our own fans do it. I don't have to do it anymore. Like, I just sit there and I don't have to say nothing. My fans are jumping them in the comment section. And there's more than this one dude that came out of, I don't know where he came from or what part of Twitter space, but he's there. But he probably ain't gonna show up next week because like 8 of my comment sections just jumped him. And they'll argue in there for days. I've had to literally comment and be like, yo, can we please stop this? It's been 2 weeks. Like, it's been 2 weeks. I don't want to see the notification anymore. Like,
drag them. I'm drag them. Some people, if you want attention so bad, some people are gonna give it to you. But that's, again, people will do anything for any sort of attention. People will do anything for clout. Clout is a hell of a drug.
Well, so is negativity.
Yes, and if I can say something edgy, and people are gonna like it, I'm coming back. I'm gonna be even edgier the next time because people will do anything for clout. Anything.
Well, I always joke you could put out a tweet on Twitter, and I've done it where I do like a little science experiment. You can put out everybody is stupid or I like everybody. Just you put out a positive tweet and put out the exact opposite of that tweet. And I guarantee you that opposite of the tweet gets so much more engagement and so many more people comment on it. It's like crazy. And it's like negativity breeds more negativity. It's like they just want it. Just pick.
That's why in my reviews, I'm starting to get to the point where when I do have criticism, I say it at the end of that like segment. Like if I talk about story, I say all the stuff that I liked about the game, and then I say the stuff that they could have improved about the game. Because I feel like if you open up with, okay, I didn't like this, people have automatically pushed pause. They're either going down there and agreeing with you or they're going down there arguing with you. But if you put all that constructive criticism towards the end of that segment, then, you know, people get the gist of the video. It's just not about being negative. I've had literally people comment and say, why'd you say this? Yo, that was in the first 30 seconds of the video, fam. Did you even finish the video? Did you get past 30 seconds? You one of those people that dropped out after the intro, aren't you? Like,
I'm just here long enough till you piss me off, and then I'm gonna let you hear what I think about it. Everyone, and I know we went way left off the gatekeeping
It's
topic,
the same.
and I take fault for that. But again, everyone wants to fit in somewhere, and whether it's a negative crowd, whether it's I beat every game on hard and you don't, everyone wants to fit in somewhere, and that's where a lot of the gatekeeping comes from. Hey, I've read every single anime. I've read the manga. I've read every page of the manga, and you're just watching the first episode of the anime. I'm better than you.
And not to mention, it gets deeper. Well, you didn't watch anime if you watching dubbed. You didn't watch anime. Like, it's just like, man, the gatekeeping in the world in general is just mind blowing.
Well, I learned by an accident. I responded to Badbit and Kyle. They finished. Kyle got the platinum in Bloodborne, and in Twitter, I jokingly was like, "What difficulty level did you play it on?" And that's what I replied with. And like, I know them very well, so I was just joking around. Oh my God, it's the most interaction I've ever gotten from a tweet. I had people subtweeting me, quote tweeting me. I had people in my DMs telling me how terrible of a person I was. It was like, oh my God.
I feel like From Software fans legitimately might be some of the worst fan base out there. Like in certain ways, like I feel like in the gatekeeping way, they're literally by far one of the worst fan base out there. But once you abide to their crazy laws that they have, because they got laws. Let's not get this twisted. From Software fans has laws that you have to abide to when you're in their realm. And if you abide to them, they're mad. I'll jump in, I'll help you. That's fine. But the moment you say, this is too hard, get good. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's crazy, man. But I think they keep those gatekeeping up because they feel like, you know, From Software fans do feel like that's their games. Like, and I feel like there's, and I can sympathize because as a Final Fantasy fan, I saw what it was like for my franchise to be casualized to hell and back. So I feel like maybe that's where they are. They're like, if we let them a little bit in, they're going to take the whole block. And I think maybe that's what they're scared of.
Isn't that very much akin to like just like music? It's your favorite indie band. It's the one you saw at the small shows and small venues. And then they got big, and then they had a pop song hit, and then everyone, and you're just like, this guy now comes out of the work, and he's like, it's my favorite band. I've been listening them for years. They're awesome. You'd be like, you weren't there. You didn't get their LP. You didn't listen to just on cassettes. There's 3 songs on it.
Is, Matt, why does that person care? Like, I don't know. Like, I was a huge Kings of Leon fan when I was in my 20s, and then they put out that Sex is on Fire song, and they got huge. And then all of a sudden, this little small concert got moved to a huge venue. You know what I did? I scalped my tickets and made a ton of money off it. I was like, I'm good. I don't care. Thank you, Kings of Leon, for blowing up so I could make money off it. Like, I didn't care. Like, I'm of the mind, maybe I've gotten older because I used to care and I used to like, oh, that person's disagreeing with me. Now I'm more like Attic. I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to mute you. I'm going to move on. I don't care. Like, I muted that conversation.
But I think it's different too now, Court, right? Because it's now we're social media. Because the days of us growing up where we are talking about the bands and cassettes and listening to music, for example, you could disagree with each other at the park, at the 7-Eleven. You're talking about this, and you could have at it face to face, or an MSN Messenger, but then or ICQ. Now it's everywhere. And I can see why people even get spiraled into the negativity, because then their whole feed and their world is just filtered, flooded with it.
But you've got to watch it. Like today, I clicked on one of Fame's articles and there was an issue with it. It wasn't his fault, but it was an issue. If I would have replied to him into Twitter space, it would have been this whole hullabaloo that didn't need to happen. So I DM'd him and was like, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. There's something wrong with the algorithm because it works on everything else, but when I go in Safari, it doesn't work. But if I would have responded to him, the amount of people that would have dunked and like come after it would have been stupid. It's just, I don't know, man. As I say to you all the time, Matt, I think I probably say this like every other day. People suck sometimes, and I don't get it.
Just play video games.
I get it. People are
if I didn't say it, I want to say it live. Thank you for that, because that was an issue that completely sideswiped us. And if it wasn't for you, just so happened to logging in on an iPhone mobile, we wouldn't have caught that issue. So I want to say thank you if I didn't tell you.
Hey, no problem. Hey, no problem. I think
a bit to figure out what the issue was, but once we did, we were so thankful, because there's so many people most of the people who visit our site are on mobile, and a lot of people are iPhone users. So I would have hated for them to get that type of experience. So
well, yeah, I literally wanted to pre-order Grand Theft Auto, and that's my gripe today. Like I literally was, I playing it on Xbox, and I'm like, you son of a gun, like come on, man. Like I was like, how is it on Sony I can buy it separate, but on Xbox, nah. And I get it, there's marketing deals on the back end, but still, I was just like, 2K, man, that sucks. I don't know. That was my moment. But instead, I didn't go on the internet and dunk on 2K and tell them how much they suck today. I was just like, in my head, I was like, that sucks. But that's how I left it.
I think creators need to be careful too, Court, right? Because I think they don't always, and we've probably all done this one way or another, big or small, of like, of crapping on something or crapping on the developer for something, and oops, out it goes, not realizing who's paying attention to your stuff, or like what Attic said earlier about like who is watching your video and watching your content, PR person, dev, whoever. And even when you're tweeting stuff out and you're like, this is garbage, or the way you interact with people or the community, that could all come around. And if they're like, I'm not getting things, or I can't get engagement, or we're not growing, it could be just because of how you're projecting out there.
Yeah, because there's a way to criticize without being a dick. I truly feel that. Like, let's be real here. There's a way to say, I'm playing a game right now. I review games for a company called Outright Games, and they make kids games. And my daughter's 5, and I've been playing this game with her. Well, guess what? The achievements stopped popping on this game. So I DM'd them today on Twitter and was like, hey, I'm going to do your review. And my daughter had a ton of fun with the game, but I'm going to give my perspective and say it sucked that the achievements didn't work on the game. And it turns out they have an issue with achievements. But there's a way to say, hey, here's some good things about it, like you were saying before, Attic, but here's a little bit of the poo pie. All right? Here's the awesome stuff, but here's what sucks too. Because not everything is perfect. Like I've even on the mind when I was seeing all these 10 out of 10s on Elden Ring, and I had my brother screaming from the rooftops because he can't play the damn game. I'm like, how did the game get 10 out of 10? Like it confuses me. I've never played the game, but my brother was on PC. He couldn't play the game, but yet somehow it got 10 out of 10. So that's my whole thing with reviews. I almost wish that the reviewers would have the day one patch, would have the same experience that the person that spent $90 on has. And that's not to say the reviewer didn't spend money, because Matt reviewed WWE 2K. He had to move to New Zealand so he could play it, and he bought it, but he still got his review out. And that's another misconception about reviewers. People don't realize we still buy games.
I was a shill and a fanboy today because I said words about the game. I said good words, and I criticized the game. Like, you sucked up to 2K, you're sucking it up. I'm like, I have no affiliation with them whatsoever and never interacted. Just putting content out.
That's misconceptions. Like, how do you guys feel about the misconceptions of reviewers? I'm sure you've taken your not so nice comments, people thinking that you're
working for them.
Working for them.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I try to stay away from that kind of stuff, because if I feed into it, it's going to make it bigger. It's just like, at the end of the day, like, you can have your opinion. If I know that's not it, then it is what it is to me.
I definitely agree. I try to be a better person. The fame now isn't the fame from 6 years ago when I wouldn't throw away an opportunity to put you in your place, right? And I've tried to evolve for the last 3-4 years to be a better person. You gotta let stuff go, man. I had a person today who tried his best. He unfollowed all because I said that Xbox needed to have a show, and he threw a big
They
hissy
do.
fit.
Yeah,
They definitely do.
They
Yeah.
do, and I lost followers for saying that. By the way, I was like, man, it seems like we're gonna be waiting to E3 again. Xbox needs a show, and I lost followers. I got hate, and I was like, oh yeah, you guys are idiots. And I told him I'm not gonna go back and forth. I don't have energies no more. But like Alex was saying, man, you gotta just don't feed into it. Honestly,
Because the moment you feed into it, they'll act like it's still relevant. Like it's just like, look, like I used to have I used to be real toxic in comment sections, man. Like, but then I used to have a clipboard of stuff I would say to people when they'd come at me.
Damn.
But at the end of the day, it's just like, I have to really thank Cognito and King and stuff because they kind of reeled me back. It's like you can't be wilding out on Twitter, man. You can't be doing that. And after enough of just not wilding out on Twitter, what's funny is I was against the cussing thing on ILP, but then after I've got used to not cussing on ILP, I don't even cuss on my own videos now. So it's just it's at this point, it's a lifestyle. It really is.
I had a 5-year-old. I have a 5-year-old daughter. That's the lifestyle. That's why I said poop sandwich before, because I've learned not to swear anymore because it is what it is. And I know Matt doesn't, and I know I don't on my other podcast. We don't swear. So I actually like that about ILP because as a parent, when I'm watching or consuming content, as soon as and it's funny how my daughter, as soon as the swears happen, then I can't watch the content anymore because 9 times out of 10, I got a kid beside me.
Yep.
So especially on a Sunday, especially when you guys go on your 7-hour
King's going off about Phil
the
Spencer.
most epic podcast ever.
Try
One day I
to
sent
wield that
Cog a
back
thing. It was
little
great
bit.
show today, and he was like, "Dude, we're still live." I'm like, "What? It is 5 o'clock and then what? How are you still live?"
I need to see. What's funny is originally I worked on Sundays and I was we got to be out in 2 hours, and then it got to the point where that's just that's not possible anymore. So then I told my boss, "Can't work on Sundays, man. You're gonna have to. I don't care what you do, but that's just how it is." So now I don't work on Sundays. I'm like, "We good. We got to be out in 3 hours." And then after 3 hours, it goes I want I usually just it is what it is. The realm likes it. Let's let it ring. But then once we get to the 4 to 5 hours, I'm like, can't let time. We got to wrap this up.
You should just have little buzzer. You just hold up a light and you just be or a white flag. Just wave the white flag. You're I give up, man. I can't do this. I gotta pee. I gotta.
What's funny is they know I have a rule. After you have me for 3 hours, I'm eating on the podcast. I don't care.
I respect it. I totally respect it. Greatest show on Sunday, man. You guys at the Unload do amazing things. I put a tweet out the other day because I've gotten some amazing advice from Cognito and Jez Cord and Ryan McCaffrey.
Jez Cord's a really good dude,
and just for them to reach out and whether I ask for the advice or they just say, hey, I want to kind of put you onto something Cognito has been there for me for the longest time, and I think me and Cog really got closer a little bit after Dizzy passed away. Cause Dizzy was my guy, man, and Cog is a really cool guy, and I'm just so happy to see the Iron Lords podcast be what it is, and I want to see what you guys doing times 10, by the end of the year, man, because you guys are doing great stuff, man, for really.
It's been a grind, man. It's been a grind. It's been an enjoyable grind. I'll give it that. But man, I gotta put my foot down. No more than 4 hours. I gotta put my foot down, man. Because then I'll be looking at sometimes I'll be all right. It was a big week, but then I take we had a guest, but then I take weeks like this week. Man, we had a 5-hour show. We had no guests. How? It's just the conversation would just be so natural and so funny that you'll turn around and it's 5 o'clock. But regardless, if I didn't feel like it was 5 hours, my internal body clock definitely knew it was 5 hours because I'm just exhausted by the end of the show. Like,
well, boys, I think that's a really good spot to kind of jump off here. We'll wrap up the show. We want to thank both of you.
1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour. See, Attic, 1 hour out. You're done. Hour and 4 minutes.
That's how I do the Attic show. Hour and a half, we out. Like,
well, thank you guys for coming, though. It was awesome. Glad we could talk about the
you.
review process and actually go through a little bit of gatekeeping, get a few things off our chest. But it's great to hear from both of you, be able to give really in-depth perspectives, different perspectives too. And you guys are doing amazing work, both of you. Level 1 Gaming is, I love the site, and ILP too. Yes, I love the site too. But I love being able to go and see you guys. You're on top of all the news. The content is great. David, as we wrap up, shout out all your stuff. Level 1. All your Twitters,
man,
your sites, everything.
I would say follow, me at Famey and T2K, but my biggest thing is LV1 Gaming, LV1gaming.com, LV1 _ Twitch, LV1 _ gaming on Twitch. If you see the Phoenix flying, you see a bird, that's us, man. We always say the same thing. Just give us the opportunity to entertain you guys. And Matt, I really appreciate you with the invite. There we go. I lost my thing for a second. Court, same as well, man. Thank you guys for having me out here. You guys, again, you guys as well are doing amazing work here at Xbox, eh? And I really appreciate the invite. And I would love to do this thing again, man. Definitely would love to come back again.
Attic, what say you? I mean, we're all very familiar, but give us the rundown.
So you have I do the Attic show every Tuesday. Today I was going to do it, but I got caught up at work till like noon, and I knew I was coming on this show. And I was like, I cannot sleep for 4 hours. Get up, do the Attic show, then jump on this show pretty much right after. I was like, I'm pushing the Attic. Well, see, originally I was just going to push it till tomorrow at 5, but then people's like, Attic, there's a state of play that's Japanese based. I'm like, okay. Attic show's the reaction show tomorrow. Let's go. We'll do that. So, definitely got that. Then Sunday, obviously, 1 p.m. we have the Iron Lords podcast. We have some surprises in store in the future. So definitely be looking for those announcements. I appreciate the invite. I don't. People I keep my DMs locked because I got some death threats a couple months ago. So it's just like, every time those things are unlocked, people just go wild. So, I think the longest I had it locked was unlocked for like 3 months. And you wouldn't believe, I said that I felt like I needed more info on Starfield, and I got like 3 death threats over it. So it was just like, people wild, man. They wild.
We do need more info. Okay, first, I agree that we need conferences, and guess what? We do need more info on Starfield because it's like, what if this game's coming out this year? Explain to me how that's happening.
Oh, what's funny is I thought I was going to get a lot of backlash when I said I think Elden Ring's going to be Game of the Year over Starfield, but to be fair, maybe I've muted enough of them where they're talking to themselves now. Like, they're not talking to me, they're talking to themselves. So I don't know, because I don't believe in blocking people. The only way I block you is if I see you too many times and you're muted, because people retweeting your stuff. That's when you get blocked. Because I've noticed that if I block people, it just starts nothing but beef. Yep. So it's just like, you get muted because I don't have to see your nonsense and there ain't no beef. Like,
well, boys, thank you again for coming. YouTube.com/XboxA and podcast services everywhere. Go check it out. Follow these boys. Level 1 Gaming, Iron Lords podcast. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you